what powered the Vimanas, the ancient flying carpets of India? Could there have been a single power source for overwhelming evidence of flying vehicles in the rich accounts of the ancient India Vimanas? They were real aircraft featured in stories that go back before the Bible. If we could physically find the power source in, let's say, New Delhi of India today, then possibly the fabulous tales of air travel and high-tech warfare might be historically accurate. If a type of anomaly or oddity far removed from anything seen previously were discovered directly in the middle of the land of legendary flying carpets, we might conclude here what powered Vimana airships meticulously described in prehistoric books such as the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, and many more, very old reports from India. What was thought of as only poetry or fanciful tales of ancient times were actually, like the Bible, true events in history. We might conclude or confirm that East Indians flew and fought in the air with high technology and modern warfare long ago. And detailed accounts of what could only be atomic warfare approximately 8,000 years ago in India might also be considered real events from our distant past. Many researchers into the UFO enigma tend to overlook a very important fact. While it's assumed that most flying saucers are of alien or perhaps governmental military origin, another possible origin of UFOs is ancient India and Atlantis. There's no doubt that most of these texts are authentic, well-known ancient Indian epics, and there are literally hundreds of them. This is what David Hatcher Childress said. What could the strange ancient power source of flying vehicles theorized at a New Delhi location be? Now, before that is answered, let's explore a few colorful descriptions of artifacts, aircrafts, and spaceships from one more fantastic first empire that was early India. An empire that transported huge monoliths, constructed great statues and buildings that surely rivaled accomplishments of Incas and the ancient Egyptians. Vimana is a word with several meanings, ranging from temple or palace to mythological flying machines used in warfare described in ancient Sanskrit epics. High towers of Hindu temples are also called Vimanas. Quote, traveling by air using flying vehicles, sky abode, was popular in ancient India, and for that matter in medieval and modern India, much before the Wright brothers used mechanical, spiritual, and tantric power to fly. In ancient literature of Hindus, we have detailed descriptions of flying machines that could carry people from one place to another or from one planet to another. End quote. Vimana also means space vehicle or a flying object that can help us overcome our ordinary limitations of time and space. Dr. Ruth Reina of the University of Chandigarh translated a Chinese discovery of Sanskrit documents found in Lhasa, Tibet. The documents contain directions for building interstellar spaceships. She said the method of propulsion was anti-gravitational, based on an unknown power of the ego or a centrifugal force strong enough to counter all gravitational pull. These ships are comparable to several aspects to the spaceships of Hollywood science fiction movies such as Star Trek and Star Wars. Vimanas were also described in ancient East Indian texts as double-decked, circular aircraft with portholes and a dome, much as we would imagine a flying saucer. The Pushpaka Vimana was a gigantic plane the size of a large city, entirely capable of holding unlimited numbers of people. Quote, 3 flying cities were made for and were used by the demons. One was in a stationary orbit in the sky, another moving in the sky, and one was permanently stationed in the ground. These were docked like modern spaceships in the sky and at a fixed latitude-longitude. Siva's arrow, obvious arrow, meaning even in the Greek, Saita, in the Greek, ancient Greek text we see that they were calling the spaceships arrows. Siva's arrows obviously refer to a blazing missile fired from a satellite, specially built for the purpose. Vestiges of one-time prosperous civilization destroyed in battle flickers through these legends. End quote. Professor D.K. Kanjilal, Observations of the Matsya Purana. The Mahabharata mentions the use of flying chariots, powered by lightning, capable of long distances into the solar system and beyond. Lord Krishna fought and destroyed Demon King Salva's flying machine. End quote. King Ketu was traveling in outer space on a brilliantly effulgent airplane given to him by Lord Vishnu. Arrows released by Lord Shiva appeared like fiery beams and lasers emanating from the sun. End quote. So let's return to the question and provide a good answer to the riddle of what powered the ancient airships of India. How about a totally oddity among prehistoric enigmas? We should search for a type of transceiver that receives energy, focuses the energy, amplifies the energy, and transmitted the power outwards in all directions, such as a Tesla radio tower, limited to a certain range. Now, could the secret power source of prehistoric Vimanas, recorded sky and space vehicles, commonly called East Indian flying carpets, have been the bizarre, anomalous, and quasi-alien magnetic rustled misnamed Ashoka, prime one of many, iron pillar that just happened to be located in New Delhi? The only large magnetic iron pillar. Some clues are the utter peculiarity of metal, magnetite, from antiquity, its size, its shape, and its unique purity that has never been duplicated. Only a very modern refinery could have constructed such magnetic material in one large piece. But not even the ultimate factory could have reproduced the Delhi pillar's purity of metal. Another clue is the power pole is located on the exact opposite side of the Earth as another magnetic anomaly, that is Easter Island. Tourists flock to the prehistoric pole of purified magnetite, nearly 24 feet high, and are astounded. We're baffled at the sacred rustless pillar as it towers in the center of the Quwat ul Islam Masjid in the first Muslim mosque in Delhi. Its age is unknown and highly debated, between 1,600 years and many thousands of years old. Its builders are unknown, as well as its precious function, possibly until now. Ever hear of a Tesla coil or the enormous magnifying transmitter at New York about 1905? The principle via spun copper coils metal around a metal rod not only produces a high magnetic charge and bolts of electricity, but more power is transmitted and amplified out than the small initial spark on the other end. Consider the appearance and function of a Tesla coil as for a wireless induction. If you held a fluorescent tube light fixture near the metal apex ball of a Tesla coil, the long tube lights up in your hand without wires. This was a principle, small scale, which power towers or stone monoliths could excite natural electromagnetic energy in the ground, utilize it, beam out the energy, as homes, cities, factories, buildings, and vehicles were topped with a receiving antenna. Tesla coils are used today on a micro scale inside many devices as a way to boost energy or electricity. But the Tesla coil itself demonstrates how whole cities could be powered, just as the light tube brightly lit in your hand only a foot away from the coil. Imagine that on a gigantic, even global scale, without need for wires. Compare the metal ball on the top of the classical Tesla tower with the odd capital at the apex of the iron pillar. Could the function of each be and have been basically the same? Did the magnetic pillar transmit electromagnetic frequencies that were received through wireless antenna on everything and converted to electricity? Was not only Delhi flying machines powered, but the entire East India Empire? India was part of Atlantis. See Urchi's world grid of 13. Was the pillar a Stonehenge or Easter Island and the Great Pyramid of India? So we have illustrations of Vimana taken from various books. Notice these schematics, graphic design, and we view inside to see different Vimana components labeled. The ship's shapes are not always round. They do tend to invariably contain a centrally positioned power pole similar to a radio antenna, and one drawing designates the antenna top as a magnetic pole. UFOs, saucer crafts, also tend to have the identical center antenna, which probably received universal frequencies in space for propulsion or Tesla type EM waves from a tower station or world grid system. Now we know that the ancient Greeks said that the ancients had flying saucers, they had spaceships, and that they were using the electromagnetic field of the Earth to power these spacecraft. Now, imagine flying discs fully charged functional, but only within the range of the power tower. As a particular radio station faded, the farther from the broadcast tower, so does the wireless energy many miles from the power pole or giant charged statue, monolith, obelisk, or pyramid. Another great EM source or grid station would be needed to expand the range of power and the area the vehicles traversed in the network. And if you look again at the relationship between major sites, cradles of civilization globally, Delhi perfectly fits into the geo pattern in Urchi's grid of 13 Atlantis power stations. Indian pillar is the same distance from the Great Pyramid as Stonehenge, Zimbabwe, and Tassili, and note special latitude New Delhi shares with the Great Pyramid, the Bermuda Triangle, or main power station. Stone, like metal, can be charged and carry an electrical charge. These sites are all magnetic vortices or electrical ley lines. Ayers Rock or Uluru in Australia is a prime example of a magnetic rod with prehistoric relics, petroglyphs, and structures at Alice Springs. Understand the layouts of ancient Indians, also West Indian pyramids, monoliths, great statues, stelae, obelisks, and totems all had special scientific purposes that had to do with the transmission of vast amounts of electricity or energy. Stonework of the Incas, Egyptians, East Indians, Maya, and other cycles of early Indian empires functioned basically like utility poles or giant tuning forks that vibrated, excited with usable energy power originally transmitted by 13 culture centers, tower stations essentially, to a large number of surrounding substations. And what surrounds Stonehenge for many square miles, even northern France, smaller stone circles that usually surround a big aligned pyramid. Smaller aligned pyramids, same can be said for standing stones, stelae, totems, and statues. Patterns to their placement has to do with the distribution of wireless Tesla energy over long distances. As mentioned earlier, on the exact opposite end of the Earth from New Delhi, India, is the enigma of isolated Easter Island, thousands of miles from the mainland. Ancient flyers, pilots, spaceships, and air wars were a part of India, and also an essential part of Easter Island. Memories of a bird cult remained that could be long lost echoes from an ancient air corps. The very same language in the form of a hieroglyphic tablet was discovered in the Indus Valley on the Easter Island. That strange fact is one more connection from two locations that could not be farther away. The mystery only intensifies and supports the idea of modern flight. A magnetic pole at either end of the Earth. Ships' compasses are known to turn towards the magnetic island that should not have sustained a prehistoric civilization, but it did. In Urchi's scenario, the remote island not only had one powerful Moai statue, that is, a receiving pillar, with the collapsing sinking of the main power station, transmitter was gone, and the one statue was rendered useless, powerless. Islanders could not leave and build more and more receiver statues until they realized the problem was at the source and not with the receivers. Examine the purity of the Delhi pillar. The entire anomaly is almost an impossibility, and this type of metal, a ruthless magnetite, exists nowhere else. Could the reason be thousands of years of powerful discharge of electricity have purified the metal? It's a good bet that the Delhi pillar functioned as an early Tesla magnifying transmitter or a giant coil which wirelessly energized everything around it, especially air forces and saucer-type ships detailed in the holy texts. There are reasons the eastern island of India were known for their sky cities and flying carpets in the common language. The answer has to do with accounts of space flights, air travel, great weapons, atomic warfare, and other high-tech things told to us in the form of old stories. So this is on Bennett Reality, and it's given to us by T.S. Caledon. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.